Welcome back to another Goonerverse podcast, everyone. We're back for the second week in a row with our 3 p.m. Friday slot, trying to make this, I don't know, Sheroy, a little bit more fun. We have fun, but you know what I mean. We're trying to bring that Friday energy. And I think, to be fair, when there's a North London derby on the weekend, you're going to have a bit of Friday energy, aren't you? So, hey, Sheroy, how are we? How's your week been?
Yeah, good, man. Good. Remember I told you last weekend I was going to Annie's cousin's engagement and I was missing the boxing, yeah?
And?
So I turn up. She introduces me to someone and says, hey, this is Paul. Paul's there with his wife. I get to chatting to Paul. Within 20 seconds, I've established that he's an Arsenal fan. I mean, this is a North London Greek Cypriot function, yeah? So I knew I was going to bump into some Arsenal fans. And his wife turns around and goes, oh, you guys are chatting about Arsenal already? So we get to chatting. And this is also the time that Brazil are playing, right? So Gabriel is still fit at this point, and he's playing in the match. I open my phone after dinner. I've had a glass of red, and I see the news, and I forget that these people around me don't know me, right? It's only really Annie that knows me. So I'm waving at Paul, and he's like, "Why is this guy waving at me from across the table?" And I just shout out, "Groin." Because I just assume he knows. I just assume he knows what I'm talking about. And then he looks at me and goes, "You know, you just waved at a dinner table at an engagement to a guy you just met and shouted out 'groin' across the table." And he looked at me and then he realised and he went, "Confirmed." And I was like, "Pretty much." And that was that. So that is how we make friends in London. That's how we make friends. That was my story of the week. Yeah, just shouting out "groin."
That's a great story of the week. And there were a couple stories left in the comments. We're going to go through those. We'll chat about my week a little bit as well. But that is a great opening. Well, it's a great story of the week. Before we go to the rest, though, we obviously need to tell you about they're back. NordVPN people. They are back on the Goonerverse podcast supporting the show. Huge thank you to them. Look, people, I'm going to keep this just so simple. You all know what VPN is. I use Nord, you use Nord, Sheroy. They're brilliant. What do they do? By simply connecting you to servers, like you're surfing the web around the world, you're able to open up a pool of content. You're able to watch content abroad that you can't access here in the UK. That may include sport. That may include certain sports that you aren't able to watch at times where you are. That's the beauty. You can go abroad and you can access what you would normally be watching here as well. This isn't just something I use when I go on holiday. I use it all the time. And actually, like I said, the last time I promoted NordVPN, I really, really mean this. Public Wi-Fi is, they're hacking, they're getting hold of things. It's protect yourself. VPNs do that as well. So yeah, big up to NordVPN. Premium cybersecurity for the price of a cup of coffee per month. That is all. One NordVPN account also could be used to up to 10 devices. And to get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to, it's in the description below, nordvpn.com/Goonerverse. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on a 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. And the link is in the podcast description below. And I think I nailed that, Sheroy. What do you think?
You did. Can I give a real life example?
No, please
as to why
do.
NordVPN is so sick? Yeah, everyone thinks it's just about the content. You ever had what? You may not have, but I have a few of these emails every so often, right? Where someone emails me purporting to email me from my own email account. So it shows up with my email address, and the email says something like, "Hey, pervert. We know what you're doing and we have access to your camera. And if you don't believe us, here's your password." And they send me a password that I've used historically. And I'm like, how have they done that? And immediately, right, your heart starts racing. You go, oh my God, what have they got me doing on camera? But then you're like, hold on, now this is gas. They're just trying to extort me. Nord has given me a list of websites that have historically been hacked or password data has been sold on the dark web or whatever. And I went through them and I changed all of them. I don't know how they collect this data, but they've done it to a T. So it's not just about watching content. Like, I mean it. It keeps you safe. Trust me, Nord is the one.
Mate, that's a great example. And yeah, fair play. So everyone, and look, you know, it's such a great deal. Like we said, gets you an extra 4 months free on a 2-year plan. You're able to open a world of content and you're supporting the channel doing it. And by supporting the channel, we're able to make more podcasts. We've got big plans for this. So yeah, everyone, help support us by supporting NordVPN. But a big thank you to Nord. And a big thank you to all of you for tuning in. What a great, It's a great example, Sheroy, there, of where it can make a massive difference. And I'm glad you got that all sorted, because that would have stressed me out. And you're right. Logically, you start to go, yeah, but there's nothing to like, no, but I know I have like, but for a second you're like, like, especially with the amount of time I spend on camera, that sounded nuts. But the amount of like,
Yeah, for sure. Or maybe I have actually just been hacked and they do have me on camera. And after this, whoever's hacked me is just going to upload like videos of me in the shower. I don't know, mate. But all I can say is Nord have helped me figure out which websites got hacked. So
what an unbelievable like podcast that would be. Sheroy, I've seen what's happened. You've gone viral. Let's discuss it on the pod.
I have to change.
I mean, I hope that never happens, obviously, but like we might, that episode might get over 100K.
Definitely. Like, I reckon I'd have to change the name of my channel from Sheroy's voice to like Sheroy's arse if it's videos of me in the shower. Like, it would have to be something like that, wouldn't it? Just to max out the subs.
This might be the last time Nord ever bought the channel, but big thanks to them. All right, you know what? Let's talk more about the week. There's some great comments. Well, no, there was a great comment. There was one. My sympathy goes out to 4Quay416, who says, my story of the week is that he tore his ACL/MCL and meniscus. Yes, all three playing football last week. This show has been a breath of fresh air while I'm stuck to the sofa feeling sorry for myself. Lucky to have private healthcare with work, so I've had my MRI and surgery booked at the start of Jan. We'll keep you boys updated. Keep up the brilliant work with the channel. Well, 4Quay416. Firstly, I'm so sorry to hear that. And there were some comments, people replying, wishing you all the best, and that's really great to see. An amazing community here on the Goonerverse. But I'm just really sorry. I mean, that's horrible. 3 ACL, MCL, and meniscus playing football. It's nasty, man. We all play football to enjoy it. No one should be subject to that. So I'm really sorry to hear that. Yeah, I'm touch wood. I'm very lucky. I've never suffered an injury like that. Have you, Sheroy?
No, nothing at all, man. That guy basically has like Gabriel Jesus's resume all in one injury, the poor fella, man. My God, like the pain. I'm so sorry. I'm glad that this pod could help in any way, shape, or form, bro. But keep killing it with that rehab, man. Keep killing it, because everyone I know who's had a knee injury, like, I know it's excruciating, but the main thing is eventually strengthening the muscle around that knee when you can, bro. So try and prioritize that. I know I ain't no doctor, but that's my way of trying to show some support. And I hope you recover ASAP, man. Yeah.
I echo all that. Speedy recovery to you. And with the world of technology these days, you'll be back on the pitch, so don't worry about that. Let's go on to the more light-hearted story of the week. Comes from Adam. Have you read this, Sheroy?
I probably have, but I just can't remember the handle.
This is good. So he says, my word, do I have a story for you, James? So I'm a maths tutor and I teach every week to classes of 20. Now, I think not to tell you your own story, Adam, but I think you missed a line, which is that I think you teach remotely or some of it remotely, like via a Zoom or something. Anyway, he goes on to say...
I think that was meant to be the twist at the end. I'm sure that's why he didn't say it earlier. Anyway, fine, carry on, read it. I think I've read this one anyway.
The story.
I don't know. Read it. Let's see if we have gone.
Right. Adam, I can only apologize. I should have... Anyway, let's go through it. So, still suffering the effects of a migraine and struggling through a lesson, I decided it's a clever idea to down a bottle of Monster to perk me up. It worked. Now filled with gas, a massive burp explodes out of me. So he puts in bold what I thought happened. Talking, mute, hit the mute button. That's why I didn't know if he'd missed a line. So talking, hit the mute button, burp, unmute, continue talking. What a professional, I thought. What actually happened? Have been on mute this whole time talking to myself, unmute, burp at everyone.
Oh, can you imagine if that was your maths teacher? But how are they not? Do they all have their cameras off?
He muted himself again and then kept talking to everyone on me.
How are they not reacting? Are their cameras not on? Because if that was my teacher, I'd be busting up on camera. I would just be creasing. I'd be like, sir, I don't think you know what you're doing here, bro.
Oh my word. He says, so from the kids' point of view, I was quiet for 5 minutes, burped at them, then went quiet for another 5 minutes. It's an unbelievable story.
Teacher of the year. Teacher of the year. All your students are going to smash it, bro. They're going to be factorizing quadratics like no man's business.
Oh, that is so good. People, that's send in your stories. We want to start every pod with this kind of energy. That was so funny. I mean, by all means, if it's not the best of news, like the ACL MCL stuff or Sheroy getting filmed, doing stuff he shouldn't, by all means, we still want to hear it. But God, that's too funny. Great story. Was it Adam? I said his name was Adam.
Yeah.
It's a great story. So there we go. That's the concept. Thank you, Adam, for coming through the story. Not gonna lie, without him, there's nothing left that I could see. But yeah, people do send it in, and it doesn't have to do with you. It can be to do with anyone. I had a story that the reason I was reminded of it was because it's got incredibly cold right now, and you're feeling it in London, Sheroy. Yeah. Like, it's so cold right now. I've got the heating on next to me. I've got a heater as well. Not on, but sometimes it goes on as well. It is ridiculously cold. Dropped to 3 degrees out of nowhere. Last week was like 15. So there you go. I appreciate people tuning in from all around the world. But oh my word, has it got cold. Anyway, my story's actually got nothing to do with the cold. But it reminded me of one day when I was on a train. So this goes back about a year, 2 years ago. I don't know if I've told you this story, Sheroy. And please, people, some of you might view me differently after this story. Don't. I want
to hear this. I want to hear this now.
I don't think a long day. So I'm sat on the overground. The thing with the overground is some trains you're just sat facing other people but moving forward, like, you're in rows. On the overground, everyone is basically facing each other. You're either on the left or on the right, and you're all facing inwards. So I'm sat there. And I've got the train from Highbury and Islington all the way on the overground, coming back from AFTV. And I'm getting them a couple stops away. And there are kids making TikToks. I don't know, they were 13, 14, they had their phone out. And they were, I don't begrudge anyone being quite loud and having fun, but they were shouting things like, today I'm going to steal people's phone on the train. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, just keep your head down, James, whatever. And then, today I'm gonna, I don't know, whatever it might be. And I just thought, just keep me away from all this. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. So I'm sat there scrolling through my phone, and one of the kids turns to the other kids. There's probably about 6 or 7 of them. And they go, oh my God, is that YouTuber? And I'm sat there thinking, just head down. Just don't engage. Yeah, I think it is. Go up to him. Like, please don't go up to him. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I'll go up to him. Go say something to him. So I'm sat there. The guy comes over, stops right in front of me. He goes, excuse me, sir, are you that YouTuber? So I look up. He's not looking at me. He's looking to my right. It was Max Fosh. 3 million subscribers he had.
No. Oh my God.
So I've sat there. I'm like this. I'm like,
oh my God.
Pretend nothing happened. Never even. He went, yeah. And I just went, this one's for you, mate. Do you know? I've got to say, I don't consider myself a particularly arrogant person. My word, that was a humbling moment. I just went, James. But that I was sat next to Max Fosh this whole time and didn't even know. This is one of the biggest YouTubers in England. And I was just like, what is going on? And I remember it because it popped into my head because it was a freezing day and I'm in my puffer jacket and I was just like, all right, okay, I've learned from that. There you go. And I thought I've got to bring that story at some point. So there you go. That's not my story.
At least you didn't end up on TikTok with a bunch of teenagers robbing your phone, bro. It could have been worse. You know what I mean? Like you ended up basically having an uneventful train journey, and no one would have known about that unless you decided to tell people, all 61.2, I think, K subscribers on your channel. Yeah, well, now everyone knows, mate. Now everyone knows.
Yeah. So there you go. So I thought I had to bring that story at some point.
Yeah. Can I ask you a random question about the cold now that you've brought it up? Since you've lost weight, do you get colder? I think I'm really cold now because I'm not as fat. I genuinely think that's why. There's no other reason, bro. Because this is the sort of temperature that we usually get. I'm feeling it now.
I don't know. I hadn't clocked. What gets me is when there's a really sudden change in temp. Like, but by the way, the other way. So sometimes England has this thing around April where it will go from like 12 to 16 degrees, and then you have a day where it's 28, and you're like, what? And I get ill from both. Basically, like, and I think that's a real thing. I think you can get ill from like really sudden changes in temperature or climate or whatever. Anyway, so yeah, but yeah, it's bloody cold. So there you go. That's 16 minutes of waffling. What do you all think, people? You'll enjoy it?
I didn't know we were going for that long. There's definitely going to be a comment saying pod starts at 16 minutes, gents. 100%.
Well, there was one guy saying it shouldn't take 19 minutes to get to the reason we clicked on the video. I'm like, my friend, I get it. That's fine. But also it's time coded. Like the least amount of effort possible to find where it starts. Like you just there, done. But we appreciate that's not for everyone. Cool. But I was just on loose cannons with, Turkish Jordan and Darren Bent, people. We've given you the football chat, and we're gonna have some good football chat here. But yeah.
That was a big episode. That was a big episode. That was a big episode, bro. Did you see some of the comments on last week's episode of this when they were discussing? People are trying to guess which episode of the Loose Cannons podcast I'm appearing on.
Okay, no, I missed that.
Yeah. So there's one that says, I knew Sheroy would be after the North London derby. I guaranteed that's when he's going to be on Loose Cannons. That was from Mini Lover, the handle.
Okay.
And I'm not giving anything away yet. I don't know why you're so confident it's going to be after the North London derby, Mini Lover, but stay tuned and you'll find out.
Okay, well, we might as well talk North London derby. What we're going to do, people, we're going to build. We did this for the Man City game. We're going to build our 11. We're going to talk tactics. We're going to use the JLA tactics board to talk about this in somewhat, a little bit of detail. I don't really like asking the question, "How do you feel?" because it's just quite vague and whatever. But I suppose my question to you would be, as I'm getting reminders on my laptop. Sorry about that. I don't know if you heard that notification pop through. Oh, there we go. What do I want to ask you about this? I suppose I want to ask you, Sheroy. We always say this game's massive. This game's massive. Like, how big actually is this game? And genuinely, even if you're like, look, it's a big game because it's a derby, but it doesn't define our season. Like, that's a fair answer. But it will always be huge because it's Tottenham. I mean, how are you feeling about it? Are there nerves? Are there is there a sense of like, do not mess this up? City go to Newcastle. Where are you with it?
I've, this season in particular, stopped looking at Arsenal saying, do not mess this up. I'm going into most games saying, I'm quite confident we're going to get the result we need here. And if not, given the work that we've already done, at this stage, it's not fatal. I don't want to be thinking like this, but you can lose this game and win the Premier League. So I'm not sat here feeling like our season is hanging on by a thread and this is an absolute must win. I personally, I'm looking at this game. I don't know if I'm quite as G'd up for it as I would be because of the international break. I think because I check out of football a little bit for a couple of weeks, I think when Friday hits, when this is released by Friday 3 p.m, I think I'll be like, okay, it's coming. Yeah. And then as soon as Saturday comes and the games are on and I've done my fantasy team, I think I'll be locked in and ready for Sunday. But in all honesty, I'm feeling the fact that we're at home, the fact that Tottenham are incredibly unpredictable, the fact that I think even with the injuries, we're still a formidable team. I'm feeling good about this, man. I'm feeling good and I'm quite confident we're going to get the result that I think we all want. Like, where are you with it? Are you nervous? Because I mean, I know there's a lot of people that are sat there saying, well, we did just drop points to Sunderland and we did get some bad injury news. And if you don't get the result that you want here, then a narrative could start to develop. But I'm not quite that fragile right now.
I'll tell you how I feel about it. I think the statement you can lose this game and win the league is a fact. And the reason I say it's a fact is because if City win the league, they lost 2-0 at home to Tottenham this season. So it's a fact that, yeah, that's true, unless Liverpool makes a miraculous recovery and win the league. But it's a great question. I feel like sometimes you can analyze individual results in individual games, but then sometimes there's like a collective set of results that maybe come as a cluster that maybe send a bit of a message out to where that team really's at. Now, I felt Arsenal, by going to Old Trafford, Anfield, hosting Man City, going to St James's Park, coming out of that run, top of the league, sent a massive message. For that cluster of games, with some of the players we had missing at times, to come out top of the league, I thought, well done. That is so impressive. But likewise, I think in a weekend in which City hosted Liverpool, we didn't get our win. They go to Newcastle. If we don't get our win, there starts to slowly, with Chelsea coming the week after, there starts to slowly build a narrative, especially because Chelsea comes after Leeds. So we could be behind City going into that game in Chelsea. We'll be top of the league. By the end of this weekend, we'll be top of the league no matter what. But we could be behind City and chasing when we go to the Bridge next week. That's where I start to look at it as a cluster and go, yeah, but the heat was turned up a little bit and he didn't win any of the games. So that's where I'm a little bit... But likewise, Arsenal could beat Tottenham and Chelsea and send a massive message. So that's where I'm kind of at. That, like, the game in isolation, hate Tottenham, always need to beat them, always expect to beat them in the Emirates. But it could be a part of a wider concern, if I'm honest. But let's wait that out and see if it happens. I'm just saying that's where my nerves come in. It's not like I think we can. It's not that I think losing this game ruins. I'm not talking about the game on its own. Is what I'm trying to say. I'm looking at the wider picture. Does that make any sense?
It does make sense. It does make sense. I just don't want to be that person that sat here and quite confidently, a fortnight ago, changed his prediction to say that I think Arsenal probably will the league from this point forth. I don't want to be that person that sat here and praised our squad depth and then suddenly, because of a loss to Tottenham where we're still going to be top of the league, say actually no, it might be done and dusted. I don't want to be that person that after an incredible run of wins in clean sheets places far more weight upon a draw to Sunderland and a loss to Tottenham than that incredible history matching run that we had, right? I don't want to be that person. And I understand that narratives in the negative develop a lot quicker than narratives in the positive, but I just don't think that's the right way to go with this, right? Because everything that we've said about the squad depth and how formidable we are, and the fact that we may well have learned from our mistakes, and the people that we perceive to be our challengers aren't quite what we thought they would be, or whatever, I think that still rings true. But that is also why, when you were talking about the nerves of a potentially bad cluster versus the propensity to maybe beat Tottenham and Chelsea, I'm more on the excited and slightly anticipating the positive side of things, as opposed to the nervous about the negative. Whereas in years gone by, anyone that knows me knows that I probably would have been slightly more nervy. But there is just something about the way that this squad's going at the moment that gives me that feeling. I'm a lot more reassured, and I think, in all honesty, I think the players in the squad are too. I
think I have a habit sometimes of, like, people said in the comments of the last video as well, that maybe I can over-explain myself or whatever. And I do take that on board. I think one fear I have is being, like, misunderstood, especially when you're talking about, like, I don't want to sit there and not have, like, the balls for this fixture. I'm excited. It's Tottenham, bring it on. I'm going to the game, all that. Of course I do. I expect us to beat them. We're good enough to beat them. I think we'll beat them. I just mean, when that question was asked, because it was asked on Loose Cannons, are we nervous for the game? And I can't remember what I said. I said I didn't really feel too nervous. But as I've sort of sat with that more, throughout the day, because we recorded that this morning, we're recording this Thursday night. Yeah, my feeling is I'm nervous about what it could be a part of, because we drop points to Sunderland, Chelsea, a difficult place to go. It places massive importance on this game, which is a big enough game as it is because of our rivals and who they are. But otherwise, is really just another 3 points that at the end of the day will still be top of the league. We shouldn't panic about. But that's just where I'm slightly concerned about, like I said, the longer term thing. But let's put all that to bed. I know we're not going to meet till after Bayern. So hopefully we're previewing Chelsea going, what a great return. Let's hope. And by the way, a great return can be beating Tottenham and drawing at home to Bayern. That's not the end of the world when you look at the Champions League format. So should we build our 11? Should we talk about the 11? I think that's where the conversation is. Like the 11s for the two teams, but also the solutions that Arteta and Arsenal need to find to Gabriel missing, and that comes from set pieces. But I really think that comes tactically too. Should we go into it? Should we do it?
Absolutely, man. You know I love this. Let's go.
All right, let's do it. We're doing this via the JLO Taxburger. Have it on your screen. Any second. Now, there we go. That's just me making sure it all syncs up nicely.
Yeah. Before you do get into it, though, I do just want to sort of preface this by saying this conversation for me is considerably easier because of how light the squad is. If we had everyone available, I would be tearing my hair out trying to figure out what I wanted this 11 to be, and I'd probably be overthinking it. I think I'm looking at this in a slightly more simplified manner because of the tools that we don't have available at the moment. I don't know if you feel the same.
No, actually, I don't. I feel like
Really?
I know exactly what 11 I'd want out there if everyone were fit. I feel the opposite. I feel, actually, I feel the opposite. I know exactly who I'd want out there with everyone fit. But because of the injuries, I'm not 100% sure the solution. What we've got here in front of you, people, is the last two 11s that went out for Arsenal. Now, we know that Gabriel can be taken out because of his injury, and we hope it is just the 4 weeks. Let's hope it's no more than that. Calafiori was a doubt, but I think he'll be available. In fact, I think Fabrizio Romano confirmed that he'll be fine. And then the question is who returns? And, I've got the bench here. Mosquera, White, Incapie. Is Erdegaard back? Martinelli. Gyökeres, is he back? Norgard. Is Madueke back? Waneri. Kai. Is he back? Lewis Skelly. There are so many players. Even Gabriel Jesus, who actually isn't here on the list. So there are lots of players that potentially could play a part, and that's where my head gets a little bit scrambled. Let's address the back four situation. Firstly, how big a blow is it not having Gabriel for this game for you?
For this game, honestly, not the biggest blow, in my opinion. They look. I mean, I might sound arrogant, but they don't have Solanke, they don't have Kulusevski, they don't have Maddison. I'm quite confident that whoever we choose in this back four, I will still be looking at it and saying, you know what, defensively we should be solid. And given that we're at home, and given that Saka's still available, and Rice is still available, and Eze is still available, and Trossard's still available, Marino's still available, whoever you want, I think for this game, cool. I think for games like Bayern, I think at the bridge, I think depending on the length of the injury, it affects the prospects of our season perhaps looking not necessarily the way that we thought it would, but I don't think it will be as comfortable a ride as it would be with Gabriel. And I understand that he brings offensive threat too, but I think for this game, James, at home, we have more than enough to beat this Tottenham side. I mean, let's not forget the performance that they put in against Chelsea. Let's not forget what happened against Manchester United. Let's not forget, I mean, I know that they look good against Copenhagen, but Copenhagen are arguably the worst looking team in the Champions League, right? And that's why this Gabriel injury, yes. I mean, I could sit here and talk about it, but everyone on YouTube has, so I don't need to go into depth through the lens of this game, James. It's not worrying me too much.
Okay, interesting. Let's just actually touch on the Tottenham 11. Like we said, this is the 11 that went out against Manchester United, but Kolo Muani, as far as I'm aware, is injured.
He's got a jaw injury, I read. Yeah, apparently
right.
It's... So, I mean, I don't know if he can play.
I think they'll go with Richarlison up front. Now, the question is whether they stick with Simmons in the 10. I actually don't think they will. I think they'll drop him. Is Kudus meant to be fit?
Kudus is meant to be fit, but there's no certainty there. You think they'll drop? Who do you think they'll play in the 10?
I think they're going to play like a flat midfield 3. Like, I don't think they'll play A10 basically.
I think I read that Sarr may not be eligible either. By the way,
It's great that I researched ahead of this.
sorry, yeah, I think I read that Sarr's not fit either, which means I assume that he was going to be part of that flat three that you were talking about.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I mean. I mean, we can sit here and talk about Gabriel and all of our injuries, but these Tottenham boys have their own headaches, you know.
So Spurs will be without Madison, Kulusevski, Solanke, Davis, Dragusin, Basuma, Gray, Kolo Muani, Takai. There are also doubts over Bergvall, Kudus, and Sarr is a doubt. Okay, Romero is being assessed but expected to play. Okay, there we go. So he could play. Let's get some players on the pitch here. Kudus. Right, we brought Kudus in. I think they'll start. I think Kudus will be fit to play. So I think he'll start on the right. I think they'll go Johnson on the left. I think they'll go Palhinha, Sarr. And what did that list say about Bentancur?
Bentancur's eligible.
But Bentancur's fine, isn't he?
I think so.
Yeah. So I think they'll go Bentancur. Where is he on my screen? Using the JLA tactics board here, and I cannot. There we go. Found Bentancur. Cool. All right. So this is the 11 I think they're going to go with. And for audio listeners, that's Vicario in goal, Porro, Romero, Van de Ven, and Spence in the back four. Bentancur, Palhinha, and Sarr in midfield three with Kudus, Richarlison, and Johnson. I think that will be the Spurs 11.
Does it, when you read that out? Be honest now, yeah. Don't worry about if it's going to get clipped up. Don't worry about what anyone's going to think. What did you feel? What did you feel when you read that out?
Yeah, like it's an average Tottenham team. I agree. I think Kudus can win a game out of nothing. Johnson has pace, though. You know, I think he lacks certain quality. Richarlison is always a trier, always a fighter, gets involved. Might be a handful for the defenders, but I'd expect us to deal with him. What I do worry about, and we'll chat on it when we kind of get the 11s out and we'll talk about this tactically, I do worry about playing through this Tottenham team. I really do worry about them getting into a 4-5-1 and it being quite difficult to play through them. I do worry about that, especially when we're quite rusty. We're missing quite a few players in our spine. But I guess you don't rate that Tottenham team, do you?
Look, I don't. And I'm trying to come at this through the lens of a guy that's sitting here saying that his team can win the league. When I look at that team and I consider the fact that we're at home, and I look at the performances that led up to that international break, even the Sunderland performance, I know that defensively there were uncharacteristic errors, and I know that we didn't win the game, but I actually thought that we created from open play like a fair bit, man.
I completely agree.
And I'm sort of looking at it like, I mean, the only thing is, look, I know it's a North London derby, and I know that a lot of people will say, yeah, but Sheroy, none of that stuff that you just said matters because it's a North London derby. Okay, fine. Tottenham have, I think, this season been better away from home than they have been at home, because when they're away from home, they do exactly what you just said. They say, you know what, come play through us. Whereas when they're at home, there's a bit more expectation to do something that's going to entertain their fans, and they haven't been able to do that. So maybe the fact that they're away will lead to them showing us a level of respect that they haven't necessarily shown the likes of United when they turned up at their stadium. And it might be a bit more difficult to get through them. But, mate, I thought Sunderland were very, very well organised and have been all season and haven't lost at home. We got through them twice and probably should have got through them more, you know, so.
Fair point. Very fair point. So the Arsenal 11 that we think will go against that. Now, just quickly, I don't always get to shout about this, but I will. I once asked Mikel Arteta a question. And if you remember that question, you'll know why I've just put in Capie at centre-back next to Saliba.
I do remember it. I'm such a neek. I'm like a guy who's on a podcast but is also a fanboy. Go on, carry on.
We all remember it. Well, I said, lol, there's me. We all remember it. There's another Max Fosh moment. I asked him why he played Timber at centre-back and White at right-back in a pre-season game in summer 2024. You know what's interesting about that? I'm convinced if he had to pick the 11 now, he'd go White centre-back and Timber right-back. And I think that's how he always saw them. I think he always saw Timber as more right-back, even though White gets forward more. I don't know. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. But when I asked him why, he said talked about the workload of playing as a right back, but he also talked about not wanting to change the dynamic on the right and not wanting to change too many positions. Which is why I think Nketiah is going to come in for Gabriel. And it will be a straight swap. And he'll just say, Piero, here you go. Even though I actually think he sees Calafiori as more of a centre-back than Nketiah, I think that's what he'll do, because it's one in, one out, and the rest of the back four stays intact. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I completely agree. You just said that you worry about how we're going to play through that Tottenham team. Do you not think that Calafiori doing what Calafiori's been doing all season could actually be one of the primary outlets when it comes to doing something unexpected? Why disrupt that? Why disrupt that? I mean, I think if I've butchered this, then correct me if I'm wrong. But I was listening to Loose Cannons on the way home, and I think you said that even though that's what Arteta will likely do, you would rather play Miles at left back and Calafiori at centre back.
Yeah.
And when I heard that, the first thing I thought is I thought we'd have this discussion on this pod, because I don't want to take Calafiori out of that left back slot. And also, if I'm looking at just stylistically Nketiah for Gabriel, I am looking at a defender that does like to be the aggressor out of the two in the centre back pairing, the guy that does like to get a little bit tighter, and the guy that I know a lot of people, because of the fact that he came in late in the window and we hadn't been linked with him, and Berta did a fantastic deal and got him for what is in this market a very reasonable price. I think they've let that impact their perception of how good a player he actually is. This guy is not, by definition, he's not a squad defender. He is a fully fledged first team defender in some of the best teams that you'll see. I think he walks into a lot of centre back pairings, which again goes into why I'm going into this game with so much chest, and why I said I'm not too worried about Gabriel not being around in this game. I do think that makes the most sense.
So you would go for this. You'd go in Nketiah. So it's so funny. I have kind of two thoughts on it. So let's get Miles. Let's bring Miles into the 11. Where is he? Miles Lewis-Skelly. Boom. We'll drag him into the squad. So if we pull Nketiah out and go Calafiori centre-back with Lewis-Skelly left-back, my main reasoning for this is, for me, when it's a game this important, I like going with what I know. Just personally, I'm comforted seeing the players I know. I've seen Calafiori at centre-back for Italy. I've seen him at centre-back for Bologna. I've seen him at centre-back in pre-season for us. I saw him at centre-back when he came on, I think, left centre-back with Kivior when we had Newcastle, one of our last games at the Emirates last season. And he played really well at centre-back. I think being a natural centre-back in a partnership or a back four, I think that suits Calafiori a lot more than Nketiah, who's typically played, if we bring him back on, he's typically played in a back three. So let's imagine that's a three, with license to get up and down the pitch and basically support as like an underlapping, the Chris Wilder system of underlapping centre-backs. So I just feel like Calafiori has played that position a lot more than Nketiah, and Lewis-Skelly has played a North London derby and looked brilliant against Atletico Madrid. I know he had the odd moment where he got caught in possession. I think that's partly his game. But that's why I'd go for that. But then I'll go one further. That if you're not going to play Miles and Nketiah is going to start, then again, this doesn't really answer either solution. But it's not really a solution to either problem. The problems being, you don't want to make too many changes and you don't want to disturb the dynamic in the back, on the left, should I say. But as you can see, I've put Nketiah left back because I feel like the dynamics of the unpredictability of Arsenal's team works better with Nketiah as a left back and Calafiori as a centre back who can step into midfield. Now, I'll go through this in more tactical detail in a sec, but I wonder your thoughts on that, Sheroy.
What I'm thinking about now is what you said when you said I like what I know, right?
Yeah.
And the back four you've just described, the most recent back four, I don't know it, bruv. Yeah, I'll be honest. But then my mind went, well, did you know Mosquera when Saliba went off at Anfield? No, but you liked it, didn't you? And then you liked the way that he replaced Saliba for that little run of games afterwards. So maybe it's not all about what you know. Maybe it's about what Arteta knows. And more importantly, we'll get into this when we discuss it in more tactical fashion. But the video you just released, I think it might have been on Goonerverse too, about what we don't know about who's fit, right?
Yeah.
Now we're sat here now, and we don't know what the 11 is going to be. And I know that fans do express a lot of frustration as to the lack of injury news, for example. But
yeah,
we haven't even gotten to the midfield, and we're talking about all these different facets and how unpredictable it could be and how it could drastically change the look of the team. Good, because insofar as I get frustrated as a fan, fine. But my number one concern is Arsenal having competitive advantage over their opponent. And you will only have the maximum competitive advantage if your opponent doesn't know what's about to happen. So if it is that vague as to who we could be playing, good, because that means Thomas Frank has to sit there and ask these same bloody questions too.
I agree. I totally agree. Let's move this Arsenal 11 up the pitch for a sec. What a great tool this is. So we just move everyone roughly into their positions. You've got, Eze will float into the right eight. We'll talk about Mourinho and the striker situation a little bit. Bazou, Mendy, Rice, Saka over here. Now, the way I see the back four is if Calafiori's centre-back, he could do what we were just praising Saliba for doing against Prague. So Calafiori can step into central midfield with Rice moving up the pitch a little bit. And then Saliba, Nkapie and Timber can tuck into a back three. And then you've got your midfield four, we'll show them here, of Calafiori, Rice, Zubimendi, Eze. That four, I think, can really dominate in central spaces. But the beauty of it is, if we just clear that for a sec, we've seen Calafiori run beyond. Oh, let's just clear that. Apologies. We've seen Calafiori run beyond, even the central midfielders and get into really high and wide spaces so he can still help. I know from centre-back that sounds crazy, but John Stones did this for Man City. Or we do what we've always been doing. It's Calafiori in build-up at left-back. I think we want his ability on the ball from that position. Trossard tucking in field a little bit, and then Nkapie going on the outside with Rice tucking next to Zubimendi. And then what do you get? Your five... or your four, shall I say, behind Mourinho as well, and your 3-2-4-1. I think with Calafiori and Nkapie, you can really mix up the way you're approaching that. So you're losing Calafiori down the left-hand side, but maybe you're elevating in a different way because you've got so many different ways of creating the same system and formation in terms of players, but different combinations all the time. And I'm quite tempted by that, Sheroy. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, look, it is tempting. You brought up the Prague example, but I think that Prague game looked very, very different to the way that this Tottenham game will look for a number of reasons. And I think it's largely because of, one, the way that Tottenham are going to set up, but two, the way that our midfield looked in that Prague game, right? I think we saw Saliba playing that role because of the fact that our midfield was actually set up differently. I don't believe Rice started that game, if my memory serves me correctly. Was he not rested for that?
He started Prague.
He started Prague.
Zubimendi he had too many yellows.
Okay, right. That's what it was. Okay. And I think that may have played a part in the role that Saliba was asked to play in that game. I'm not entirely sure that I want to go for that now. Look, I mean, I know I've been sitting here sounding like Billy Big Bollocks when it comes to Arsenal, but when I do look at Tottenham's front three, if it is Kudus on the right, I think he is the main threat on that flank, which is why I don't want to disrupt our left-hand side, right? That's where I land on it. I would feel the most comfortable with Nkapie and for Gabriel and let Calafiori do what Calafiori's been doing. But I completely see the force in what you're saying in terms of completely mixing it up and having all of these options. And that vindicates all of the conversation that we've been having about the squad all season.
Well, but I'm a hypocrite because I've been saying I want to see what I know, hence Lewis Skelly. So, we've talked about him. Because if Lewis Skelly was in this team, it'd be really simple. Taking Nkapie out. Oh, sorry, again. Still getting used to this, but it's a very good tool. It'd be Lewis Skelly either popping up in these wide left positions or high, as we mentioned, the left eight, or into build up with Rice getting further forward. We know what Lewis Skelly can do, but I do think he will be in Nkapie left. Ultimately, I think he'll be in Nkapie left centre back, which I have no problem with. It's not my preferred choice, but I get it. I understand why he'd do it. And then I think what we'll get is rather than Calafiori, Calafiori and Trossard will always interchange, but I actually think Trossard will stay quite wide. I think Saka will stay quite wide as well. And Calafiori will kind of dance on the inside a little bit, sort of support in those pockets. Like he did this really well against Sunderland. We talked about it in my latest video on the Goonerverse, where he was constantly pulling players apart. And the reason I think they'll do that is because Trossard's has some joy one-on-one with Porro. Porro's quick. He's not super quick. Trossard with a bit of skill, I think, can do him. And I think Spurs will be tempted to engage Spence and Porro against Trossard and Saka. And that's why I think they're going for that midfield three of Bentancur and Sarr to just get back and try helping those channels so Romero and Van de Ven aren't too stretched. Kudus and Johnson will work back, but then they will just stay high enough to be able to try and counter. So I think Spurs' shape will see a lot of doubling up with either the winger Johnson getting back or someone like Sarr getting across to help Spence. But I think it'll be the central midfielders who are helping in that position a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the more you discuss it and the more you say that the central midfielders will be helping in that position a lot, the more I can't help but think about how this midfield battle is going to play out, right?
Yeah.
I said it. We said it early, and I want to reinforce this point. I think Zubimendi has a lot more quality going forward than people give him credit for.
Couldn't agree more.
I really do, and I think that he makes the team tick in a way that it doesn't when he's not on the pitch, and that has been the case for the few games or the few minutes where we haven't seen him. And I think if Tottenham turn up and they are slightly too defensively minded here, and they're not adventurous and they don't carry threat, I do think that that's where Rice and Zubimendi could really, really gain some territory for us. And if we do end up camped just outside their box, I think that's where Zubimendi and Rice could really, really unlock their defence, particularly if our wingers do hang wide, as you say. Because if there's one thing that Declan Rice certainly has, it's that vision to just ping a long one out to Bukayo Saka. If there's one thing that Zubimendi has, it is that nice little dink or a nice little 1-2 over the top with whoever the striker might be or whatever. And I think we could see a bit of that. And I'm conscious of the time because I rarely look at the time, but I realised that I've been going on a fair bit. I do want to.
You haven't. I've been rambling for ages. You carry on.
Fine. I do want to talk about Trossard a bit as well. You know.
Yeah.
Trossard is one of these guys that, in this sort of game, I can't help but feel like he's going to score. I don't know why. This is the sort of game where I do feel like Trossard is going to pop up. I mean, if Annie were here, she'd tell you, right? When we were watching the Sunderland game, before Trossard scored, when he took that touch to open it up, before he'd even lifted his foot to strike it, I just went, goal. Because it just felt like something Trossard was about to do at that moment in time. And I could see that he had that one-track mind. I love his contribution so far this season. And I honestly believe that if this season pans out the way that we all hope it's going to pan out, Trossard is going to be spoken about a lot more than people think. But bear in mind, over the summer, we were talking about, well, Trossard right offer comes in from Turkey. Let him go, man. We need to upgrade in that position anyway. Then there was talk about, why did we give him that deal? Why did he get a pay rise? You know, why did he deserve it? He's not even going to stay here for any longer. Mate, big goals this season, big goals since we've signed him. I think this could be another week for him.
I really hope you're right. He's in terrific form. Some people said he could only do it when he's coming off the bench, not starting games, which I never really understood. I don't know why. Because it's tired legs. I don't know why people think you've got less time to make an impact off the bench. I just think Trossard happened to come on and be someone who was quite difficult to pick up, could exploit the opposition. But I think he always had the technical quality and guile to do things as a starter, especially when he was playing brilliantly as a false nine for us. And he has started some games on the left and played well. At the moment, he's in a really good run of form. I think that battle with Porro is going to be really interesting. So will Saka Spence, because Spence defensively can be quite robust. And I think he'll give Saka a good game, but I'm backing Saka to make things happen. You're right about the midfield battle, Rice and Zubimendi. And if Zubimendi gets hold of that ball in outside the penalty area, he's the type who can pick out those kind of passes. Let's build the rest of the 11. We agree that Timber Saliba will be there. We think it's going to be Nketiah with Calafiori at left back. Do we agree that's what we think he'll do?
Yeah.
So we're predicting the rest of the 11 now. Trossard, Saka, cool. Zubimendi and Rice, obviously. So the question's really about the front two. Now, Ødegaard, according to some reports, is back in training. Jesus has been pictured a lot in training. Kai Havertz, Gyökeres, Madueke, Mate, we just don't know enough at the time of recording. Now, when this comes out, Arteta might have said some stuff, so obviously go check out Goonerverse News for any reaction to that. Do you think he's going to go Eze Mourinho? Do you think that will be the starting three?
Yes. Yes, I do. And not just... look, I'm not just saying that because it's what we've seen most recently. I mean, if let's say Ødegaard is fit, I've been banging on about this a while, right? I talk about match fitness a lot. He travels on international duty and doesn't play. I don't think a North London derby is the game where you just chuck Martin Odegaard in cold and say, all right, mate, have a go. You know, when you've got Eze available, this is the beauty of it. You know, you don't have to play a teenager that you think might be in awe of the occasion. You can play an experienced international that just scored a banger on international duty, put him in there. And if it's not working out and you do need to change it up and Odegaard's got 20, 25 minutes in his legs, then do that at home. Then bring him on. You know, that's why. And also one of the reasons that I think he picks Merino is what I didn't speak about with Gabriel's loss is the loss of a threat from set pieces, right?
Yeah.
Merino is very good aerially. And I think he adds to that. I think he adds something in that facet of our game that a Trossard false nine, Martinelli false nine, Eze false nine wouldn't necessarily do. So I actually think that not only is it what Arteta will do, to me right now, it makes the most sense. You look like you don't agree with any of that. What have I said? Go on.
Well, I'm just so like, I agree with everything you said.
Fine.
I just think, are we really starting a North London derby with Mikel Merino up front?
Yeah, but it is a lot of bad luck, bro. Like
it is bad luck. It is.
I'm not
three strikers. I agree. It is bad luck.
That's the thing. Like I can sit here. Like, last year was different, bro, because I was sitting there saying we can't be going into this stage of the Champions League with Merino, but that's because we only had Havertz and Jesus, and we knew about Jesus' injury record. Whereas here, Havertz was returning from fitness and got injured. He was fit pre-season. You know, Jesus were fine, okay, but we did bring in Gyökeres too. And when all those videos that you did before we bought Eze, right, we were talking about how he does give you an answer centrally in the front 3-2 if you need it. So I'm not sitting here saying we're ill-equipped going into this season. That's why I'm not dwelling on the fact that Merino will start there. And to be honest with you, bro, like I know everyone says he did a job, but I actually think that's doing him a disservice. I think he did more than a job. I think he's actually looked, in terms of his finishing, quite accomplished. I understand that we may lose something in the build-up with him as the striker, but if there's a chance to fall to him, I'm backing him to put it in the back of the net, bro.
That's my issue. I think we play worse football when Merino's up front. Yeah. Although second half against Sunderland, we were very good. I just think he's a very good finisher. So you need to up the chance volume. And I don't really know who the natural creator is in that team. As they can create, Trossard can create, they're technical footballers, but Odegaard creates. Saka, to be fair, creates. Maybe do you know what? That's harsh on Trossard and Eze. Obviously they can. I see them more as finishers to moves than I do like the players that the game kind of flows through. But I mean, there are other ways for Arsenal to approach this, just very quickly. If you take Merino out of the team, you could play Trossard as the false nine. You could move Eze to the left, and you could bring in Waneri. I know he won't do that, but you could. If you would you back
Trossard or any of our false nines in the false nine position against Romero and Van de Ven, though?
But isn't that kind of the point that they don't like? I don't back Merino against those two. Like, I think Merino will lose those duels. I think Merino will get bullied by those two. I just think if he's given half chance, he'll take it. So I'd rather play through him. I think Romero and Van de Ven are probably like it will be the lack of a structure from Tottenham. There'll be a structured team, but it will be what flaws they have in their structure that will win us the game. Not kind of.
No, I see the force in that. You sound like you're sort of exasperated by your own explanation, but I get it. I do get it. I completely get it. In terms of the creation and the service for Merino, don't forget what we spoke about 5 minutes before, though. You know, we're talking about the Trossards and the Sakas and the Ezes, but don't forget the influence that Rice and Zubimendi can have upon that too. Yeah,
that's true. That's true. Would you, if you found out Havertz had been training for 2 weeks, would you start him?
Not in this game for the same reason. Look, man, I'm quietly
Gyökeres. If he's fit, if Gyökeres is declared fit to go,
yeah, because it hasn't been as long.
Is declared fit to go, that's the one, isn't it? Eze back then, Trossard out wide, and Gyökeres up front.
Because it hasn't been as long an absence as Odegaard and Havertz would have been. Gyökeres only really missed the Sunderland game, didn't he? And the international break, fine. Whereas these guys have been out for a fair bit of time, bro. So that would make a lot more sense to me. If Gyökeres is fit, Gyökeres plays, absolutely.
All right, let's predict some key battles very quickly. I'm just going to move these players up the pitch a little bit, squeeze that there a bit. Cool, that looks good. Key battles for me, I'm going to be a bit nerdy about it, but I do think it's our underlappers and their central midfielders. So for me, Eze and Sarr directly in central midfield. But I think if Calafiori is trying to support Trossard there, because I do think he will start left back and then Nketiah, like you said. So I think basically the central midfielders of Tottenham getting across to help. I think they're going to play a big part. I think Saliba on Richarlison, just ensuring that they don't get any counters, that they don't settle, they don't feel they've got an outlet. Any other big battles for you? I'm just going to take Gyökeres out of the team as well, because I think it'll be Marino up front. Any other key battles for you that you really keep an eye on?
I'm interested that you brought Richie up, actually, because from the little bits of Tottenham that I watched, a lot of Porro down that flank was beating his fullback and just pinging in cross after cross after cross. And those crosses, when they're arriving from that flank, more often than not, it's going to have to be Nketiah dealing with them as the first man. I think that he's going to have to pick Richarlison up if Saliba's not staying on him. And I'm interested to see how that one pans out. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at Nketiah, Richarlison. I'm also looking at Porro and the fullback with the crosses coming in from that flank. I think that's going to be their primary threat. I'm not. Again, look, I mean, this could go left, but I'm not really sitting there worrying about like a Brennan Johnson Timber matchup. To be honest with you, I think it is down that side.
Kudus versus Calafiori, or versus Nketiah could be a really good battle.
Yeah.
All right, well, there you go, everyone. We've talked about the 11 in quite a lot of detail. We're going to do this more often when there's kind of big games to kind of preview like this. If there's not big games to talk about in a particularly interesting tactical sense, we will look more at the other narratives around the games coming, or the weekend, or whatever it might be. We've got a couple of minutes left, so very quickly, Sheroy, in a line, which Newcastle City result puts more pressure on Arsenal? City winning there or City losing there? I know that sounds like a crazy question, but what an opportunity if they go and lose at Newcastle to go open a gap. That puts mega pressure in itself. Which do you think puts more pressure on Arsenal?
City winning. All of every single bit of discourse.
Do you know what? It sounded stupid me even asking it. Of course it's City winning. But yeah,
and it's not just because of the obvious, right? Oh, they would cut the lead down. It's because they are Manchester City. The minute that they became the primary challengers, all of the discourse over the international break was, yeah, it's not nice when any team's chasing you, but when it's that manager with that striker, you know, I think that and I say this because in the past, people can use the word bottle, say what they want. That doesn't rattle me, but there's no getting around the fact that when we've been in a foot race with City, one way or another, they've taken us. They have taken us, right? Yeah. And that's why you want to keep that gap. And I also think that as fans and as players, we'd probably go into the Tottenham game with a bit more excitement and a bit more chest, to the extent that it would enhance the prospects of us getting over the line if the gap remained at 4 points going into that. I think the pressure that comes with the opportunity of making it 7 is far lesser than, or far less than the pressure that would come with knowing that it's only 1 going into that game.
You're right. It's a stupid question. I think I just meant more like, is it even comparable, really? You know, I think it is. I think whatever happens, Sunday's huge. And it goes all the way back to what we said at the beginning of this whole Tottenham section. You can lose this game and win the Premier League. You can. So I don't see it as pressure because of that. I see it as pressure because of the wider context of drawing to Sunderland and the games that are to come. But added element is City, if we don't win, will have chipped away very nicely at our lead, with Liverpool at home, the champions, and Newcastle away. And that will be a little bit concerning. But I agree with you. I did a video. The name of the video was The Title, I'm More Confident Than Ever. Because I know what I saw against Sunderland in that second half. So I'm backing Arsenal to do it. I think we'll win. How about you?
Yeah, me too, man. I'm not one of those guys that sits here and says it's a long season just for saying it, because it's something that people say. Like, I know it's a long season. I know we're not going to have it all our own way. I know that there'll be times where the lead might only be 1, whether it's because they played a game more than us or whatever it is. I know that there might be a time when they're ahead of us. But if we're going to sit here and back our squad and say we've learned from these mistakes and say the cavalry will arrive and say that we're so unpredictable and we get goals from all over the pitch, this isn't the time to waver. This isn't the time to suddenly. I mean, Big Steve on the Big Six always says, people's asses fall out when we're on their shoulder. Let's not do that. Let's not do that in November. Let's not do that in November.
He really is the modern day Shakespeare, isn't he, Big Steve?
Oh, he's got such a wonderful way with words. My God, so eloquent, really that man. Absolute legend.
Sheroy, I can't thank you enough, man. Remember, everyone, getting your stories, in the comments. We want to read them out next week. And as always, big thank you to NordVPN. A reminder that to get the best discount of your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/Goonerverse. The link will also give you an extra 4 months on a 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee as well. The link is in the podcast episode description box and in the YouTube description below as well. Big thank you to everyone tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. Let's hope we win. Let's hope when we next meet up, we have just dealt with Tottenham, Bayern, who seem to be our European rivals at the moment after everything they've done to us over the years. And we can preview Chelsea in good spirits. But yeah, big thanks. Catch you all in a bit.